So nice to be here with you all as we come into Thanksgiving week. I'm feeling very grateful for this group. And today I have a wonderful poem to share, which comes from Rumi. This is one of Rumi's ghazals. It's a curation of a ghazal, a longer piece, which was translated by Fatima Haidari. The Phoenix of Kaf. Separation from fellow travelers is not in your interest. Traveling without a light is not in your interest. When you've seen the realm and the kingdom, then you're a king. Begging is not in your interest. That beloved is calling you to you-less-ness. For you, this you-ness is not in your interest. Oh, brother, you are Mount Kaf's phoenix. Anything except phoenixness is not in your interest. Once again, The Phoenix of Kaf by Rumi, translated by Fatima Haidari. Separation from fellow travelers is not in your interest. Traveling without a light is not in your interest. When you've seen the realm and the kingdom, then you're a king. Begging is not in your interest. That beloved is calling you to you-less-ness. For you, this you-ness is not in your interest. Oh, brother, you are Mount Kaf's phoenix. Anything except phoenixness is not in your interest. So let's take a comfortable seat. Feet flat on the floor. Knees squared. Relaxing the shoulders, the neck, lengthening the neck a little bit. Just remembering yourself, because that's what this poem seems to be about. Softening the face, the jaw, around the eyes. Even the tongue, just letting it lie flat in your mouth. Even that is something to remember in sati. Maybe just letting your hands rest comfortably facing upward on your lap. Now we're in it. deepening the breath a little bit. 4 counts in. And then on the exhale, if you can let it fall to 5 counts out. And then remembering the Tonglen practice for all those sessions we did on repair. If somebody's experiencing some pain in your life and you've been holding it, just breathe it all the way in. And then release it as compassion, a desire to relieve their suffering. I always like that extra count because you're letting all of that pain out and making sure that it passes through you. And out as compassion to relieve their suffering. Your mind is racing. So often we throw that arrow back at ourselves and say, I'm a bad meditator, but you're noticing it, and that's the whole point of the meditation. So now what it's asking you is to be in the tree, feeling the leaves falling, the rustle of the branches, the wind shaking it, thoughts and emotions, resentments, whatever's going on. And also to step outside it, just to step back from it. And know that at the same time, it's not you. You're just watching it like a dream or a movie. It's a dream where anything can happen. It's a very interesting movie. The phoenix of Mount Kaf. Separation from fellow travelers is not in your interest. Traveling without a light is not in your interest. When you've seen the realm and the kingdom, then you're a king. Begging is not in your interest. That beloved is calling you to you-less-ness. For you, this you-ness is not in your interest. Oh, brother, you are Mount Kaf's phoenix. Anything except phoenixness is not in your interest. This is a ghazal. It's beautifully rendered because it keeps all of the 800-year-old rules of the ghazal. Fatima Haidari is translating a whole sequence of Rumi's ghazals, but curated down to these small portions. And I've been working with her on these for a year now. They are stunning. A ghazal, for those of you who don't know, is a very particular kind of form out of the Middle East, written in Farsi. Rumi made them famous. They involve the repetition of a word or phrases, and they're often set to music, sometimes rhymed. And then there's this signing moment that happens at the end of the ghazal where the author often calls himself out. In this case, it doesn't really happen, but this brother is synonymous with the writer. Oh, brother, you are Mount Kaf's phoenix. In a way, we could be saying it to ourselves. I am Mount Kaf's phoenix. Rumi was born 800 years ago, a 13th century poet, in Balkh in Afghanistan. And the poems still sweep into my heart as though there's no separation of time. Mount Kaf is a little bit like a Mount Olympus place. It is a place out of the popular mythology of the Middle East. And the phoenix we know all about. But what I love about this poem is this notion of not in your interests. It takes all of that mystical language and it puts it, or it frames it into common sense. It just doesn't make sense to be separate from fellow travelers. It just doesn't make sense to travel without a light. And so all of the separation is dissolved, but not because we have to be good, like Mary Oliver says, but because it just makes sense to dissolve those separations. The phoenixness here reminds me so much of a Native American story about Jumping Mouse and the eagle. At the end of it, Jumping Mouse is left blind because of these good deeds that he's done, and the eagle's shadow is approaching, and he feels that he's about to die because he's rendered himself vulnerable and helpless. The eagle swoops down and grabs the mouse in its talons and lifts the mouse up. And the mouse hears this voice say, "Open your eyes now." And when he opens his eyes, he realizes that he's the eagle. And what he thought was coming to kill him and destroy him, annihilate him, is actually the thing that transformed him into something much greater than he ever imagined that he would be. Mount Kaf is the home of the jinn, And jinns are able to command reality the way that we command reality in dreams. And they are like the force of the eagle as well. There's something magical about Mount Kaf, but it's also very much a part of who we already are. We don't need to find it. It's already right here. When you've seen the realm and the kingdom, then you're a king. Begging is not in your interest. If you remember those words from the Gnostic Gospels, Jesus, the kingdom of heaven, is right here in front of us, but men don't see it. Once you've seen it, begging is not in your interest. The beloved is calling you to you-less-ness. For you, this you-ness is not in your interest. This is emptiness. This is sunyata. This is falling away from the illusion of a separate self or a separate identity that happens in real love. So let's get back into the meditation for the second half, and I have a question for you. Taking that comfortable seat again. Feet flat on the floor. Letting your hands fall in your lap, facing upward, if that's comfortable. Lengthening the neck. Letting the shoulders fall. What are you holding right now that's not in your interest? What is that bowling ball you've got clutched in your talons? Taking a breath. 4 counts in. And on the 5th count, just unloosening whatever it is you're carrying. Something you should be, because to be that would be to be good. Something you should have done. These first 2 lines of the poem remind me so much of what it's like to be a teacher. Separation from fellow travelers is not in your interest. Begging is not in your interest. When I'm standing in front of people and trying to be the professional and trying to be the authority and begging for their attention or creating separations because of a title or a position, I'm shutting out all of the light that's already there. The possibilities just become very narrow. They're not impossible, but they become extremely narrow. Is there a separation you're experiencing right now that's based on a position you should be holding? This is how to arrive at Mount Kaf. To let that go. This is one of the three doors of liberation, sunyata, emptiness. Four counts in. 5 counts out. And on the 5th, just let go of that bowling ball. See what happens. This is the difference between narcissism and mysticism, where the narcissist says, I'm God and you're not. The mystic says, I'm God and so are you. Now that you have that feeling of release, step back from your thoughts, step back from the tree, the dream, or the movie, however you like to imagine it. See if you can abide in the gaps between your thoughts. occupied in that empty space between one thought and the next. You'll notice that it takes a little bit longer to find the next thought. You might be able to hear that there are construction workers in my basement who arrived just as soon as this meditation began. That's not supposed to happen. And so I have a chance to practice letting go of that bowling ball. Even if only for half an hour, it feels wonderful to visit Mount Kaf, the phoenix of Mount Kaf, by Rumi, translated by Fatima Haidari. Separation from fellow travelers is not in your interest. Traveling without a light is not in your interest. When you've seen the realm and the kingdom, then you're a king. Begging is not in your interest. That beloved is calling you to you-less-ness. For you, this you-ness is not in your interest. Oh, brother, you're Mount Kaf's phoenix. Anything except phoenixness is not in your interest. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving, everyone.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.